So thank you, first of all, so much for taking the time to come give us your feedback. As you heard, a recording is in progress. The recording will be available on the same website you used to register for this, that provo.org/neighborhood-plans website, probably on Monday or Tuesday. We'll do some quick introductions first. Robert, do you want to start?
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Robert Mills. I'm the planning supervisor here at Community and Neighborhood Services. It's a pleasure to be with you tonight. And then Hannah, you can go ahead and introduce yourself.
I'm Hannah Salzel, long-range planner. I work with Robert. I used to be with the city council, so that was my background, not on the council, just as a policy analyst before coming here. And let me share my screen and pull that presentation up so we can jump right in. All right, so we'll try to keep it to about 1 hour with some discussion at the end after all of the questions. If there are points that you don't feel comfortable bringing up, either in the survey responses or in the discussion at the end with everybody else, feel free to email me. My email is the one that was on the flyers. It's also at the end of this presentation here. So talking about downtown, I just want to make sure we're all on the same page because we have a lot that we can learn from you and the different ways you use downtown, how it works for you, how it doesn't. Downtown is actually a pretty big geographical area. It's a lot more than just Center Street, which is kind of that red area. I'll put with my mouse on here. Here is Center Street coming down to I-15, and up this long street here is University Avenue with the front runner station right down here, the entrance to the mall, and this gateway right down here. And this northmost block is the library, and that's 500 North. So a pretty big area. You can think of that T. Whenever we talk about downtown, we're talking about the whole area, and we'll bring this map back a few times just for some refresher. It's the civic, business, historic heart of Provo. It's home to hundreds of residents and encompasses parts of 8 different neighborhoods, the ones listed on screen there. So it's really diverse, and it means a lot to a lot of different people in a lot of different ways. Master plan, the other part of this. The master plan is just a long-term planning document that helps provide some really high-level guidance for future development and how the space is going to develop in the next few years. The current master plan for the downtown was created back in 2015, and it has been one of the most successful plans in Provo. It's been great. We've seen a ton of the goals that it listed actually coming to fruition, which is always really validating. But as we accomplish those goals, means we have the opportunity to step back, review where we've come from, and set new goals to help us determine where we want to go. And that's really where you come in with this open house is we want to know where you would like downtown to go. Let's see. The next steps for this are we're going to analyze the data from this, and don't worry, none of your results will be individualized. Your responses are going to be analyzed by me and Robert purely in the aggregate. So your data is perfectly safe. We will then create a working group of a few different stakeholders downtown, including residents, who will continue to discuss some of the points that you raised here in greater detail. So you're really just setting the foundation for the rest of the work we do. We'll collaborate with other departments, share your responses as appropriate, as necessary, and we hope to have a draft early next year, early 2022. Robert, do you have any thoughts before we jump in?
No.
Okay. First one, we've got a practice question up here. We're going to use, like I said, a software survey called Mentimeter for your results. And feel free to use the Zoom chat for any questions or technical difficulties you're having. Robert will be staffing that, and he'll make sure that everything's working for you. To access the survey, one person already figured it out, a couple did. Go up here to this menti.com website and enter this code up here. You don't need to worry about the spaces or anything. It's easier on a second device, so you don't have to switch between Zoom and Mentimeter, or the Menti website. If you don't have another device with you, feel free to just stay on menti.com. You don't have to switch back and forth to Zoom. The screen will essentially just be the same screen you're seeing there, so you're not missing anything. Also, on your questions, make sure you hit submit. If you don't, they won't actually submit. You might have to scroll a little bit. I'll give you more specific instructions for how the different question types play out as we go. Okay, let's see, how many attendees do we have?
We have 10
10?
so far.
Okay, we've got 5 responses, so we'll give this a few minutes. A minute. So we can make
I
sure.
just wanted to use this opportunity as kind of a test out, make sure that you can get onto Menti, respond, because we'll be asking you several more questions throughout this, and lots of opportunity to actually see real-time answers, real-time data to see what your neighbors and friends also think of these questions for downtown. So we really appreciate your participation. That's what provides us even better data. Encourage you, if at all possible, to answer. But again, if there are certain things that you'd like to tell us, or just give us a call on the phone, either or, but we definitely want to hear from you tonight. So, there'll also be lots of opportunity for you to go ahead and go off mute and ask a question, join the conversation if we want to discuss things a little bit more. So,
yeah. I also neglected to introduce, we also have David Walter. He doesn't have his screen on, but he does redevelopment with Provo. So if you have questions as we're talking about this, feel free to get answers from us, just like we're getting answers from you, so we can have a good back and forth. Okay, I think we're good to move on to the next question. Where do you live? So this is a map of Provo broken down into the neighborhoods. Feel free to scroll and then you can drop your pin wherever you live. Somebody already figured it out. If you don't live in Provo, just put your little pin in the circle. And it can be very approximate. I know this is not exactly easy. Give us another 10, 15 seconds.
This one's probably the trickiest question that we'll ask you tonight.
That is technologically is the hardest. Okay, let's go on to the next question. We've just got a couple of quick demographic questions to help us analyze this data. How old are you? Okay. We'll move on. I think we've been getting about 9 responses. We got 10 on one. The next, with what gender do you identify? Pretty good split. I think that's everyone. We'll move on. Getting into the downtown questions now. How often do you come downtown? And some of these will overlap, like if you live downtown, you probably also come almost daily, but just pick what you think is most accurate for you. Okay, got some good diversity. Yeah. Sorry, if you see me looking up, I've got 2 screens I'm working with for the presentation. So. Okay. What words come to mind when you think of downtown? And for this one, it's a word cloud. So you have the opportunity to make 3 different entries. Make sure you enter all 3 before you hit submit. Once you hit submit, your answer is locked. You can't go back and change it, which means you can't go back and add your second or third. We'll give you a little bit of time to think about this. People have said traffic a couple times. Improving. That's cool. Crowded, cool. Restaurants. Old. This is a really diverse cluster. This is awesome. Like this another 10 seconds or so and then we'll move on. Family friendly, great food. I do love the food on Center Street. Okay, let's go to the next question. That's a good primer. So hypothetically, pretend you're visiting downtown and you'll decide to send a postcard to a friend. Which of these 4 options do you choose? You can look at the larger images on this side, and then we'll let you vote on the next slide. Switching now. Okay, which of these postcards would you send to your friend? Okay, that was pretty close for a while. Awesome. Okay, we won't linger here. Let's move on. What brings you downtown? And these sliding bar questions are probably the second most technologically complicated, but they're not bad. If the category simply doesn't apply to you, feel free to hit skip. Under each category, you'll see a little skip option. You can drag your response under each category along the bar from never to the left to sometimes in the middle, and then to the right would be every single time you come downtown. It's for this. If you'd like, all of your answers can also be the same number. You don't have to have them evenly split. If you have never ever been downtown for any of these things, they could all be a 0 or 1, I guess. It seems like everybody's getting the hang of this. Good. Mostly the restaurants, it looks like. Good mix of shopping, religious, events, all the others. Pretty good mix. Oh, okay. We'll keep up a good pace so we've got more time for discussion at the end. So in 1 or 2 words, what are your favorite changes to downtown in the last 10 years? Picture downtown 2010, 2011. What's different that you appreciate? And on this one, you can submit as many as you want. So feel free to make an entry, hit submit, make another, hit submit. It's easier for our data analysis later if you don't make a long list, if you break your list of 3 items into 3 separate responses. Oh, it's a word cloud. Darn it, I wrote the wrong one on this one. This one is a word cloud. I'm sorry, you've done this one before. We'll give you some time to think because this one you might have to search your brain a little bit. More restaurants, new housing, temple, hotels. Very cool. Oh, Los Hermanos is gone. The farmer's market, that's cool. Nicer shops. Cool. That is a really diverse mix from all the restaurants to farmers markets to food. You guys are really thinking creatively and I appreciate that. Okay, let's move on to the next question. This one we'd love to have some discussion afterwards. This is that one where you can enter as many as you'd like. So what does downtown lack? What is something that you want to be there, but maybe isn't there yet? And it might help to think of other downtowns you visited. What are some things that you've appreciated about them that you don't have in Provo and would like to see? And since you can submit as many as you'd like, feel free to just rapid fire brainstorm. There are no bad suggestions on here. If you really want a petting zoo, say you want a petting zoo. Safe, judgment-free space here. Brewery, the brew pubs, yeah. More outdoor dining, a water feature would be nice. Car-free weekends, there's an idea. A place where you can take coffee or salad and doesn't feel like you're trespassing. I like that. Some good outdoor seating, more diverse foods, no chains. We have about 80 restaurants downtown with no chains, unless you count Starbucks that's inside of another building. More like Marienplatz in Munich. Cool. Rooftop restaurant, movie entertainment, or more entertainment like theaters, pocket park, or Christmas market. These are some really awesome suggestions. Thank you. I do like the walkway in Boulder. That's really cool. So, these are awesome. Okay, I'm gonna open the chat. Feel free to keep submitting as we're talking, but is there anything anybody wanted to say or elaborate more? Maybe on their responses or on a response they saw somebody else put and you have some thoughts? And feel free to comment in the chat or unmute yourself and
it wasn't my suggestion, but whoever said Boulder, Colorado, Pearl Street's amazing. And I really love how there's buskers there and just like it invites people to come and just be part of the community and to spend some time there, even if they're not there to shop or eat. And I think that's a great idea.
yeah. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think that'd be great. I love the feel there. Center Street down to a single lane. Tea shops. Oh, a winter ice rink. That would be cool. There are some like seasonal Christmas suggestions we're getting that are kind of fun. Somebody asked or suggested protected bike lanes, and I want to drill into that, but we've got a question about transportation safety that might be a better time to bring that up for more discussion.
I was just going to mention that some of you have kind of referenced specific places, and that's something that's also really helpful.
Yeah.
So if there's a place that you've been that you just really enjoyed that experience, you can just put the place there, and that gives us a good reference to go and look at that. We might have been there, we might not. But
We'll definitely Google it.
yeah, we can
Do some
go
research.
kind of experience that for ourselves.
Parallel parking instead of perpendicular parking on Center Street. Traffic can move through quicker. And then some specific place examples. Awesome, thank you. Missoula. I've actually always wanted to go to Missoula.
Very cool place.
College towns. Yeah, way cool. I'll give this another like 10 seconds or so. Feel free to keep adding more suggestions, comment in the chat, unmute yourself and chat with all of us. Okay, let's move on.
That was really helpful.
Yeah,
Thanks,
these are
guys.
some really creative suggestions. Oh, underground parking lots or lots a block north or south of Center. That is really good to know that that's what people want. Okay, every good thing has its downside. What do you like least about downtown? And again, remember downtown spans that kind of T shape geographically from the highway up to University Avenue, and then from 500 North with the library down to Front Runner and about the start of the mall. Congestion, slow Center Street, yeah. Speeding, green space, yeah, these all make sense. And again, no wrong answer. This is entirely subjective, and your experience, the way you interact with the place, is going to depend on what you bring to it, your past experiences, your demographics. So no wrong answers. Industrial areas, yeah. Rundown storefronts. And that it's geared toward college students. Good to know. Agro drivers. I love that. Lack of gathering spaces where you could take a salad or coffee. Yeah. Some overlap. A few people have said traffic looks like. And that it's car focused or focused on cars, maybe instead of focused on pedestrians or cyclists. Is that the implication? Noisy concrete pavement. I'm not sure what that means. Can whoever posted that elaborate in the chat or unmute yourself?
I'll take a stab at that. I think that that concrete / tires.
Oh,
Creates a-
driving. Okay, no, as soon as you put it in a car, I know exactly what you mean. That sound as you run over the seams.
Yeah, thanks, Matt.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Is concrete and asphalt is noisier? Yeah, yeah. Okay. I was thinking from a pedestrian point of view, but no, that is annoying. Dangerous rail crossing, dead space. Yeah. Okay. These are really awesome. Let's move on to the next question. Is there anything happening downtown that worries you? Any ongoing trends that you don't like or things you see that just don't sit well with you? What concerns do you have? Increasing graffiti, yeah. Overbuilding. This is another one of those where you can submit as many answers as you would like. So the beggars, yeah, the homeless population. The architecture of new development is meh. Okay, that's really good to know. Parking in the road, difficult to get out, slow speed limits, takes a long time to get from university to the freeway. It does. Like to see a faster thoroughfare. Yeah. Center Street, that downtown area is just not a good way to get to the highway, sadly. Not enough focus on streets adjacent to center. Yeah, it's true. In the beginning, I even had to clarify it's not just Center Street. So yeah. I like the BRT, but the left turns are hard. Yes, they are awful on University. Yeah, we'll look at some traffic patterns. It's good to know that people are struggling with those. East-west travel commute. Yeah. More resources with development like parks, congestion. Yeah. Seems like hope bars and businesses that are not family friendly. Interesting. Good to know. Seems like traffic and transportation is one of the major areas of discomfort or concern, but there are a lot of different other suggestions too. For me to change that, yes. It is crazy dangerous. That's good to know. If your wife wants to join Menti, she can. You can have as many people on there as you want if she wants to submit her responses. Yeah, get rid of them. Okay. And this data won't be shared really outside of our office, except as we decide to quote and reference it. So feel free to get specific. Feel free to name names. We'll give us another 10 seconds or so, and then we'll move on. When you come downtown, how do you usually get there? And it's probably a mix of these realistically, but which do you use most often? Do you drive, walk, take public transit, bike, or scooter? Okay, I think that's everybody. That's good to know. And on this next question, if you drive to downtown, where do you park? If you never drive to downtown, feel free to just skip this one. That's fine. If you do you park on the street, in a public parking garage, or in an off-street lot? Okay. Definitely a preference for on the street. It's good to know. How strongly do you agree with these statements about paid parking? And same sliding bar, feel free to skip. I'll leave that to your discretion for each category. Strongly disagree to the left, strongly agree to the right. Would you support both paid on-street and paid garage, or paid on-street and paid garage? Would you support only paid on-street meters, support only paid parking garages, or you would not support either of them? And yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, parking is something that we constantly hear about, and we want to make sure that when we are looking at the downtown plan that we capture this pretty well. So if you have more to say on this, we would love to get that input as well. Like if
Yes.
there are things that you want to add to that conversation, we would definitely welcome any additional comments that you have.
Yeah, or feel free to unmute yourself or put in the chat and explain why you responded the way that you did. We'd love to know your feelings behind it. And there's definitely more support. The bar is farther along to the right on the first option than it was in the 6 p.m. one. So that's really interesting to know.
I don't work downtown, so those that do might feel differently, but I would love to have paid parking so that when I go,
Yeah.
I don't have to circle for a parking spot. It's more
Mhm.
likely that I'll be able just to find a parking spot and do what I need to do downtown.
And as a user of those parking spots, would you be willing to pay to
Yeah,
have that?
absolutely. Especially to have it, just the ease of parking.
That's really good to know. Does anybody else have any thoughts? Why did you respond the way you did? Okay. We've got some, I'll read these in so they're part of the video as well. Someone said, I don't prefer parking on street, but park there because I don't know where else I can. I would prefer parking on Black South or North, or preferably in free lots or validation if I visit a business. Sorry, got cut off. That is really good to know. Maybe some education or better wayfinding and signage is something that we can look at doing or encourage other options. Yeah. Someone else said, no one likes to pay for parking, but it is a good way to encourage other means of transportation to charge for it. And it's expensive to build. Having a parking problem is usually a sign of a healthy downtown. It's great that we have too many people wanting to come downtown. That's a really good point. And yeah, the rest of that is true. Someone else said, I generally don't like paying for parking anywhere on earth, but if there is some benefit, I'm open to consider it. Yeah, it really is sort of that cost benefit, right? What are you getting for this cost? So knowing that there's some general support, we'll look into it more. That's really great feedback. Thank you. Let's go to the next question. Unless anyone else has anything to say. Okay, next question. Getting into some residential questions. If you would like to live downtown, would you prefer to rent or own? You can also answer that you're fine with either, or that you just don't want to live downtown. That's fine, right? Judgment-free zone. Okay. Pretty even. For those who said they want to own or either, why is that? Why would you prefer to own, say, over renting? Or why would you even want to live downtown in the first place? And those of you who said you don't want to live downtown, that's really good to know too. Oh, someone owned to build that sweet, sweet equity. Yeah, just bought my first home. We moved today. My husband moved while I was at work. And yeah, that's sweet, sweet equity. I know what you're talking about. It's a good feeling. Okay, for those who don't want to live downtown, why do you not want to live downtown? What about it is unappealing to you? Someone said we have too many rentals already. Ownership leads to a stable neighborhood. Yeah. I have a nice home. Well, that's great. I'm glad that you found your spot. Yes, maybe it's not that downtown is bad, but you just like where you are. Any other thoughts? Okay, we'll go to the next question. If you would like to live downtown, what type of housing would you prefer? Kind of related to the last one. Sliding scale goes from the left, no way, no how, to the right. Yeah, I'd love that. That's the goal. And again, feel free to skip okay. Condos has a slight lead, not too surprising with that preference for ownership that we saw on the last slide. These questions take a little bit more time to respond, so I'll give it another 10 seconds or so. And condos take, or townhomes take the lead. Oh no, condos are back, never mind. Okay, yeah, this is really helpful to know as we're looking at what type of housing we want for downtown. Okay, how strongly do you agree with these statements? To the left, again, strongly disagree. To the right, strongly agree. I feel safe walking downtown and I feel safe biking downtown. And we understand that this question is complicated. For one, geographically, there's a large area to cover. You might feel safe in some parts of downtown and not in others. We'll get into some of the details on the next slide. We also get that, again, your experience and demographics play a role in your safety. Okay, I think that's everybody. Let's go to the next slide and dig into this a little bit more. If you do not feel safe walking and biking downtown, what would help you feel more safe? This is another one of those where you can add as many responses as you would like. And if there's a specific area, like a crosswalk at this intersection or bike lanes along this path, feel free to note that if it's general, like the slower speeds, that applies everywhere. That's totally fine. You don't have to specify. Lighting on side streets, yeah. More protected, have a barrier, not just paint for bike lanes. Like kind of on Cougar, yeah.
And I liked Andrea's comment on the chat, you know, feeling safe walking on the sidewalk, but unsafe crossing the street. I think that's so important.
Yeah, thanks for reading that, and that is really good to know. And I think we saw some suggestions too for longer crossing times and things like that. A crosswalk on 300 West, 100 North. That's super specific. That's really helpful. Thank you. Walking is homeless and biking is no cars at all. Yeah. Protected bike paths. Longer crosswalk timers, more space. Single lane with a separate bike lane. Close traffic for walking and biking. Center Street is a little bit scary. In cars and bikes. I like mid-block crossings on Center, but feel like I'm taking my life in my hands. Yeah. Better bike sensors at night. That's interesting. And again, really specific. The variety of experiences you have with downtown and the variety of ways you use downtown are so helpful to us. Crosswalk connecting the rec center and the hospital. Oh, that's interesting. Oh no, no more electric scooters. Almost got hit coming out of your office. I'm so sorry you almost got hit. Longer crossing times with a stroller. Yeah, that's a good perspective. More traffic calming measures, like roundabouts, bump outs. Well, I'd love to open this one up for more discussion, so feel free to keep entering comments here. But like with the others, if there's anything else you want to say about this topic, we'd love to hear it. This is, I think, one of the most important questions we're asking tonight. Yeah, track progress.
On the bike lane side, there are a couple of routes that are super nice now, like the 200 East Bikeway. So I
Yeah.
really appreciate that the city is making an effort to like create some safe routes. But I think if you have a specific area that you need to get to that's not along those routes, it can be a little more tricky and less safe feeling.
So maybe expand that network and kind of,
Yeah, exactly.
okay, I'm glad that one is working for you because that gives us something that we know works that we can keep replicating. That's great insight, thank you. Checked a bike lane like the one on Cougar that goes downtown, maybe on Freedom, yeah. Sign signal for pedestrians crossing Center. Sometimes on the brick wall crosswalks, people just step out. Yeah, like that other person said, taking your life in your hands. Saw a car narrowly miss hitting a person. Someone in the 6 p.m. session had suggested raised crosswalks. So they're kind of like a speed bump just with the crosswalk on top to slow cars down. How would you guys feel about that as pedestrians and also as drivers? Better street sweeping. Oh, and someone added another comment. I don't know if you'll talk about it later, but I like the idea someone mentioned of trying to route semi-traffic up the canyon on 8th North and Orem rather than University. Not too many other downtowns have so much semi-traffic running through them. That is a really specific, very helpful point and something that absolutely is within the scope of a master plan. Yeah, so we can take a look.
And specifically, the Department of Transportation encourages that, right? That's a really, for that exact reason, trying to get that heavy traffic from those semis out of our downtown.
Yeah.
Sometimes that doesn't necessarily happen, but great suggestion.
Yeah, something we can collaborate on. Someone else said, I don't know if speed bumps help with so much traffic already. I have to drive it and don't want to go even slower with tons of traffic. Yeah, that could be a safety hazard too. Pass laws that make using phones while driving illegal with heavy penalties. Yeah, couldn't agree more.
These are great suggestions. Thanks.
Yeah. Spotlights specifically illuminating the crosswalks like in Europe, safer at night. Okay, yeah. That would help with visibility.
The elevated
Uh-huh.
crosswalks would be helpful, but I think the scary part is the backing out of the parking spaces blind.
Yeah. That's a good point. Good to know. Okay, and someone in the Zoom chat too. Raised crosswalk sounds great for pedestrians, but terrible for cars because Center Street traffic needs to be quicker. It is hard to make that street everything for everybody. Yeah, it's a tough balance. I get nervous about cars backing out even when driving too. Wish those spaces were gone on Center. So some people have talked about taking Center Street down to 1 lane or just getting rid of driving traffic and making it just like a walking street or with bike lanes. How would you guys feel about that? Yes, walking on center. Yeah. Oh, sorry, that was not me commenting for the clarity of the recording. That was the chat. They said, yes, walking on center only.
I think that would be up to the engineers, if they can work out a way that they can move some of the traffic off of Center Street and go to one lane. I think that would be great. It would help with the backing out of the diagonal backing, diagonal parking spots. But that'd be something that the engineers would have to figure out. It's not a field thing, it's a engineering thing.
Absolutely. And we will collaborate with other departments on this master plans. There will be engineering perspectives. We'll work with parks for green spaces. It's kind of an umbrella document. Someone said, if you want Center Street and downtown to be all it can be, you're going to have to eliminate traffic and parking and reroute it around to adjacent streets. Somebody else said, would love to see an alternative to Center for getting to the freeway. It ruins the atmosphere when you have rush hour traffic. And we've gotten a few more comments too. Closing Center Street to motor vehicles would be good. Police officers patrolling downtown on bikes rather than only cars. That's interesting. And let's make Center Street look so delightful and charming that drivers don't mind going 15 miles per hour going to and from the freeway. I love that goal personally. That would be like a career goal for me. That's awesome. We need to divert more car through traffic to 100 North. Too many drivers focused on getting to the freeway, treating the area like an on-ramp. Yeah, and I've heard a lot of talk back and forth about that, and it's something that we'll definitely discuss.
Yeah, and just to give a little bit of more context, the city has a traffic mobility committee, TMAC, and they are kind of going through all of these different kinds of suggestions directly related to Center Street right now, and we're excited to kind of go through all of those different things, evaluate them, and see what our engineers and planners and everybody we can come up with. So
yeah, and
these are really these comments are really on par with kind of things that are going on.
Yeah. And sorry if you see me looking sideways, it's because Robert is sitting over there. It's not
Yeah.
like a Brady Bunch boxes. But yeah, that's part of the working group too. These suggestions that you raise, we'll go through them, we'll dive into them, we'll have members of Engineering, Planning Commission, Parks on that working group so we can really get the feasibility. We've got a few more comments I'll read in. I like car traffic on Center since it is the way to University from Center Street freeway exit, unless there were another way to get to the freeway faster, i.e. a block north or south, like 700. Yeah.
I think this is well covered ground, but just a comment.
Yeah.
I was kind of the dilemma there. I had to drive Center Street 4 times today to get to places I was going because I had to get to the freeway 4 times today. And on the one hand, I hate driving it because I have to slow down really slow, and I'm coming from the east side of Provo and it takes forever to get across there. And there's people in the center parking part that are popping out with their babies and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, that was so dangerous. Like they almost like they're poking their heads out and they're almost getting in the traffic that's driving by. And on the other hand, I love, as I'm driving along, I love the restaurants and stuff like that. And I'm thinking, but I don't want to be down here because of the cars, because I also don't want to be eating and walking around in this area with all this traffic going by either. So it's kind of a pain point on 2 sides.
Yeah, so maybe if there were an alternative route to the highway, but we made sure that that was a really aesthetically pleasing, charming.
Yeah, I don't know where you find that alternative route, but I so wish that were possible.
We'll talk to the engineers. That's why they get paid the big bucks, right? Awesome. Okay, I just want to read in a few more of the comments. I won't go through everything on screen. There was one more. I think if the area were greater than 15 miles per hour, perhaps even more people could visit the Center Street businesses. I often avoid going to the businesses because of the slow car traffic. That's a different perspective. That's really helpful to have. I'll open it. Oh, Robert.
Yeah, I was just going to say, given time, we should probably move on.
I was, just about to say, this is our last question. So we will wrap up, and then whatever time is left at the end, we can have some open discussion. Feel free to ask us questions. I'll try to move fast. Next steps, like I said at the beginning, we'll analyze it, work with the working group to dig into it a little bit more. If you'd like to volunteer for the working group and meet with us every few weeks to keep digging into this topic, we'd love to have you. Send me an email. My email is on the next slide, and just a brief introduction of yourself. We hope to have a draft out in early 2020 that will go through a revision process, and we'd love your comments and feedback then to see how we did capturing these ideas. A few other things to be aware of. There's a downtown survey put out by the contractors we're working with for the general plan. We're getting just a slightly different angle on their questions for downtown. The address is on the mayor's most recent blog post. There's a hyperlink. There's a startup district walking tour. There's more info on Facebook if you just Google startup district walking tour. It's this Saturday morning at 9 a.m. They're meeting at the startup building, and then we'll be walking around hearing more about the development going on in the area. For updates on the City Hall redevelopment, you can go to mcwhinney.com. McWhinney is the contractor for that, /portfolio. We're not on there quite yet, but we will be very soon. As I said, the recording will be posted on provo.org/neighborhoods. Feel free to share it. We're also going to figure out a way to convert the survey we gave you into some sort of Qualtrics or other survey. So feel free to share that link or get other feedback. That is my email, hsalzel, that's my last name, Hannah Salzel @provo.org. If you'd like to participate more, if you want to be part of the working group, or if you have any thoughts that you didn't get a chance to share during this meeting. And once again, just thank you. You guys are so awesome for taking the time to help us build a better community for everyone. So really selfless and really awesome of you. Thank you. And that is the end of what we have. I don't want to take more of your time, but we've got just under 10 minutes for any other questions or discussions you have.
Yeah, we really appreciate this, but you know, kind of the time is yours. If there are things that you'd like to express, didn't get the chance, we didn't necessarily touch on, you're welcome to go off mute, kind of let us know in the chat, or again, send us an email. We would really look forward to that. So.
We're designing this area for your use. So the more we know what you want, the better we can work with that. Really, thank you.
And if there's nothing else, we'll go ahead and say thanks.
Oh, what are Provo leaders doing about the lack of affordable housing? That is a big question. Oh, and there's another one read in. I like the downtown Center Street area as a walking area or a park scheming. If there were an alternate route to the freeway, that would be great. Yeah, that is something that I think is definitely a takeaway from this meeting we'll work on. As far as affordable housing goes, there are a lot of initiatives going on with federal grants and housing standards. If you have more specific questions, feel free to email me. Maybe we can set up a phone call or something. I'd love to talk more. There's just a lot more that we can talk about in this couple minutes. How does this project interact with the redevelopment of the old Sunnyside block? Will some of the info you collect inform McWhinney, or will it be done too late? That is a good question. I think it will inform some of McWhinney's decisions.
Yes, we'll share all this information with McWhinney, and they'll be here gathering information for the next 6-7 months so that we can put together a development agreement for what's actually going to be on this block.
I think they're doing a lot of what we're doing right now, just trying to gather
Right.
info before making a design. So yeah, we'll share it with them.
Yeah. I also wanted to just address the one comment about a possible alternate route for Center Street. 100 North is actually being considered as a possible way to reroute traffic to get it off Center Street. And you all are always welcome to tune into our TMAC discussions. Those happen every third Thursday, and we broadcast those on YouTube, and that's something that comes up often. So feel free to let us know. You're welcome to email me any concerns that you have about that as well.
Now that would be 100 North from where to where?
Somewhere in the vicinity of, like, the exact location is not determined or anything like that, but it would be essentially somewhere before 100 East, and then getting through the main section of Center Street That's the 15-mile-an-hour section, and then re-entering Center Street somewhere west of 500 West. But again, that's all just preliminary. It's just a possible design, a possibility, but all of that's being evaluated right now.
These are some good, like, big picture, far thinking questions.
Yeah. Alrighty. Well,
Okay.
thanks, everybody.
Enjoy your extra 5 minutes to your night. And once again, thank you so much for your help with this. This really is invaluable insight that I don't think we could have gotten any other way. So you guys are amazing. Oh, just a comment in the chat. I'd rather not see 100 North as a highway. If it does become a throughway though, let's find ways to make it feel nice. Yeah,
Absolutely.
I agree with that. Give it a good aesthetic. Make it feel welcome. Okay, if you have any other suggestions or you wake up at 2 in the morning in a cold sweat with a great idea for downtown, feel free to email me. I'd love to chat too. Feel free to give me a phone call or drop by. That's all we have. Thank you so much. Have a great night.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Okay.